The late 1800s were a magical and exciting time in America. It seemed like every day new ideas were becoming reality. What you are watching is a series of short films made by Thomas Edison's motion picture company. Americans for the first time could sit in a dark room and watch pictures come to life. New inventions and innovations changed life every day. There were new opportunities everywhere. America was a great land of promise. And it all happened during the Gilded Age, a time period when new ideas, new inventions, and the American spirit drove us to the future.
American industrialization was a period between 1850 and 1920 where American inventions, natural resources, and an urban workforce fueled an explosion of U.S. economic dominance.
Throughout this period, American inventions made life easier and hiked the productivity of American workers, while at the same time, farmers and urban workers produced and consumed products in mass amounts. Railroads intricately connected the country and markets from east to west, and American businesses expanded America's role in the world economy.
Inventions helped to change Americans' lives. One of the most important inventions was created by Edwin L. Drake. Drake introduces the use of steam power to oil drilling, which helps to create an oil boom. Steam power helped to speed up the process of removing oil from the ground, which created a surplus of oil, making oil cheaper and more accessible.
Another invention that was hugely important to American industrialization was the Bessemer steel process. Developed by Henry Bessemer, the process involved blowing hot air into liquid iron ore, thus removing the carbon and producing steel. Steel was a lighter and more durable version of iron, but was just as strong. The Bessemer steel process allowed steel to be mass-produced, lowering its price and increasing the quantity available to firms.
The use of steam power in oil drilling and the Bessemer steel process were very important because oil and steel would become the two main ingredients of the American economy for the next 100 years.
Oil was the major fuel used during industrialization, and steel products allowed greater flexibility on what to build and where to build it.
Several inventions instantly improved the quality of life for Americans, and were made by American inventors. Edison's incandescent light bulb harnessed electricity in a light bulb and produced light by running it through a filament. Edison later helped invent a system for harnessing and distributing electricity over distances. With the incandescent light bulb, electricity is now safer, cheaper, and used everywhere. It led to the inventions of appliances, and electricity allowed cities to expand over vast distances. Factories no longer had to be built near rivers, allowing factories to be built wherever needed.
The next American invention is the telephone. Invented by Alexander Graham Bell, the telephone laid the groundwork for a worldwide coast-to-coast telecommunications network. Americans no longer relied on a wire telegram to communicate. Instead, they could communicate almost instantaneously from anywhere around the country. The telephone created white-collar office jobs for women as secretaries, a first in the American workforce. Women also worked as telephone operators. The telephone also connected markets quickly everywhere around the United States.
The next invention is the typewriter. Created by Christopher Sholes, it made work more efficient. It helped to open up job opportunities for women.
American life was forever changed by one of the biggest innovations of the 19th century, the railroad. Fueled by steel, coal, and steam, the locomotive spans every corner of the United States. The railroad quickly opened up the vast West to new markets and new towns. People traveled west to open lands and restarted their lives and exchanged goods. Cities and markets popped up everywhere along main lines. A huge development of the railroad industry came about in 1869 with the Transcontinental Railroad. With the nailing of a golden spike in Promontory, Utah, the eastern United States and the western United States were connected for the very first time. Laid by Chinese immigrants, Civil War vets, and freed slaves, the Transcontinental Railroad cut travel time from a matter of weeks to a matter of days.
Due to the Transcontinental Railroad, 24 time zones were created to keep schedules, and the United States was divided into 4 time zones: Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific.
Railroads became so important to American life that towns and cities were shaped around them. The town of Pullman was created by railroad magnate George Pullman. Pullman was the designer of boxcars which would be pulled by locomotives to allow riders to ride in luxury around the country. He designed a company town for his railroad workers and provided housing, shops, hospitals, and all the luxuries of a city for his workers and their families. However, Pullman demanded a strict code of conduct while living in the city, which eventually led to the Pullman strike. As a result of the strike, workers left the city in droves, and the town collapsed.
The success of the railroad industry also led to corruption and abuse. Railroad companies charged excessive rates and made illegal land deals. None exemplifies this corruption more than the Credit Mobilier scandal. The company was owned by politicians and railroad owners that charged the government 3 times the real cost of railroad construction jobs. They then skinned off the top and kept the rest for themselves, at the expense of the taxpayer.
The bold and egregious abuses of the railroad industry led to outrage among the people. Eventually, the federal government stepped in and began to regulate the railroads. One example were the Grainger Laws. These were laws proposed by farmers of the Great Plains. Tired of illegal land deals that robbed them of land, they asked the government to regulate railroad fees and the use of land for building new track. When the railroad companies sued in the court case Munn v. Illinois, 1877, the Supreme Court ruled on the side of the farmers and judged the Grainger Laws constitutional. The federal government also created the Interstate Commerce Commission, also known as the ICC. This commission was created to limit excessive railroad fees and oversee and regulate railroads' use of land. So why does this matter? The new inventions of the Gilded Age changed Americans' lives forever. It made life more convenient, and it changed the way we looked at the world. The railroad forever altered the way we travel. What used to take months now only took weeks or days. Goods could be shipped faster, and every corner of the country was linked by a railroad route. With an abundance of raw materials and American ingenuity and ideas, the possibilities of the future seemed limitless.